Before we get into today's mailbag, make sure you guys give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_. Trying to get to 600 followers here by the end of the month of April. All of our Bengals Breakdown content will be posted to my Twitter page. You'll also find a lot more short-form content up there these days as well. So help me out. Give me a follow over on Twitter at StoneShields_. All right, here we go. Chuck getting us started here on today's mailbag. Kirkland looked good in preseason last year. Do you think he overtakes Volson with the new O-line coach this year? Ooh, good question here from Chuck. Jaxson Kirkland, of course, made the team for the Cincinnati Bengals. Then he suffered a season-ending injury. I want to say it was a torn triceps, perhaps. Don't quote me on that. I could be wrong, but regardless, it was a season-ending injury. I think the Bengals are high on Jaxson Kirkland, but as far as overtaking Cordell Volson goes, I think right now their hope with Scott Peters and Zach Taylor is that Scott Peters is going to be able to make Cordell Volson a quality starter, which obviously we all have our concerns with that, considering where he is ranked among the league over the past couple of years. I think the new voice certainly will help. Don't think Kirkland is going to overtake him as a starter, but I feel really, really good about Jaxson Kirkland as a backup. And I think if he didn't get hurt, that would have kind of quelled some of the issues Cincinnati had along the offensive line last year, after some guys were getting nicked up. From Jeff, how do you feel about Watts, safety from Notre Dame? Xavier Watts, of course, is who Jeff is referring to. Obviously, lots of people are going to talk about Xavier Watts and the Cincinnati Bengals. I think he's a round two guy, and I think you definitely need a safety. And obviously, he played it at Notre Dame, so he played for Al Golden, who, of course, is the defensive coordinator now for the Cincinnati Bengals. To answer your question, I feel really good about him. I don't put him on the same tier as Malachi Starks and Nick Amamwori. But if you were to take an edge or a linebacker in round one and Watts was available to you in round two, I feel like he might be a little bit too early in round two. He might be off the board by the time you pick there in the second round. But I'm a big fan of him, and I think he could come in. Obviously, the built-in rapport that he has with DC, Al Golden, would be beneficial. I would love Xavier Watts to Cincinnati. Charles, should Cincinnati draft a quarterback? Look. At some point, we're going to have to, be able to have this question, right? Jake Browning is under contract for one more season, and I believe he becomes a restricted free agent. But at some point, I feel like some team is going to want to pay Jake Browning a little bit, and Jake Browning will probably ultimately leave at some point. And obviously, you will need to have a backup for Joe Burrow. And obviously, let me be very clear here. When we're talking about drafting a quarterback, it is not the start, right? Joe Burrow is the guy, and he will be until he is no longer here, meaning no longer in Cincinnati. But this will become a question where, hey, Bengals probably need to draft a quarterback in the later rounds. It's not this year. You got a bunch of needs on your team. You got Jake Browning still in place for 2025, and you only have 6 picks. So at this point, no, but at some point it will be interesting in terms of who's going to be Joe Burrow's next backup when it is no longer Jake Browning. Let me know what you guys think, though. Should Cincinnati take a quarterback in this year's draft? I don't really think there's any good quarterbacks either that you could take at the end anyway, but let me know what you guys think in the comments of today's show. Type Y for yes or N for no. Evan Anderson, do you think the Bengals should sign Asante Samuel, or for some reason is still a free agent? I was really high on Asante Samuel when he was coming out of college, and then you understand why he's still kind of unsigned here at this point because the play over the past couple of years was not up to snuff. I'm looking for a bit of a guy that's kind of older. Obviously, Samuel played out his rookie contract, but I probably would stay away from Asante Samuel Jr., to be completely honest with you. I'm looking for a vet to come in, help lead that room on a one-year deal type thing. I don't think that is Asante Samuel Jr. Obviously, there's hype because of who his dad is, and there was hype when he came out of the draft, but I think the play out there on the football field just hasn't been good enough the past couple of years. Sean, how do you feel about Erick All and his future? Yeah, look, I'll be honest with you. When the Bengals took Erick All, I didn't really understand the pick, and then you saw him out there as a rookie, and he was unbelievable for you on offense. It is a shame that the Bengals are going to be without him in 2025. Hopefully he is back to form in 2026. That was always the worry with Erick All Jr. was the injury history. He had some injuries at Michigan. I had him at Iowa as well. And look, I think, you don't need to panic at the tight end spot. Obviously, you're bringing back Gesicki, who's not really a tight end. He's a big slot. But you're also bringing back guys like Cam Grandy and Tanner Hudson, and Drew Sample is just coming off the best year of his career as well. So I think the tight end spot is in fine hands right now. Hopefully, Erick All can come back in 2026. Definitely is a shame the Bengals will be without him next season. We'll continue with our show here in a minute, but first, want to give a shout out to our friends over at Game Time, because today's show is presented by Game Time. Game Time makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch or the start of your event. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Last-minute deals save up to 60% off buying last-minute for sports, comedy, concerts, theater, and more. Love the zone deals. Save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats for you. It's incredible. They take care of it for you. All-in pricing, toggling this feature up front, allows you to see your total up front so you don't get hit with any surprise fees at checkout like some of those other ticketing companies can get you with. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But again, create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, all guaranteed. GR Sports, does Joe Burrow win MVP and does Jamar win? Does Joe Burrow win MVP and does Jamar win Offensive Player of the Year? Only a matter of time, I would say, before that happens. Will it happen in 25? I don't know. Definitely have some questions along the offensive line. Are they going to, prevent that from happening? Joe Burrow will win an MVP before he retires, and Jamar Chase will win the Offensive Player of the Year before he retires as well. Dylan Keaton, $5 super chat. Appreciate you, Dylan, for sending that in. Before free agency, we all talked about how weak this free agency class was, and people keep bashing the Bengals. I personally love the moves they made. Love the optimism there, Dylan, completely. Look, their focus was on T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, as it needed to be, and it was. And they checked it off, and they got it accomplished, right? As far as, not bringing enough guys in, yeah, I kind of agree with you, Dylan. I'm fine with the guys that they brought in. TJ Slayton from the Packers, I like him a lot. He is a massive upgrade from Sheldon Rankins. For me, the only issues was kind of bringing back some of the guys like Joseph Osai, and I hate to bash B.J. Hill because I love him and he's done so much great stuff for the Bengals, but you didn't necessarily know if you kind of just thought that it was going to be done with B.J. Hill. Now he's coming back, and it's like, it's a little bit, we're just kind of running it back type thing with the defense. But, yeah, as far as lack of moves, I don't really have an issue. Would have liked to seen you get another offensive lineman early on before you got Lucas Patrick, but I think the Bengals have overall done some really good things this offseason, obviously highlighted by Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and Mike Gesicki, too, for that matter. Brian Harmon, should we cut Germaine Burton? Best of luck in your golf rounds, Brian, if that is you. But it's a question. It's tough, right? Personally, I don't think the Bengals will. Hearing Duke Tobin talk at the NFL Combine, they're going to give him another chance. So we'll see. And if I was calling the shots, it would be tough. Because for me, sitting here talking to you guys, yeah, cut him, right? I mean, he's being an idiot, and he's done some horrible things. He's been accused of doing some horrible things, so cut him. But if you have to think about it from the Bengals' perspective, right, you spent a third-round pick on him. He hasn't, been convicted of anything, right? So you just kind of got to give him another year and see if he can, get things together, because it's a shame because the talent is there. You see why you took him in the third round, right? When you see him running around out there on the football field, you see the ferociousness in which he plays with. But it would be a tough decision. I'm glad I don't have to make it. I would say cut him from me. But if I'm Duke Tobin, can I say cut him? Probably not. I know it's not a direct answer, but that's the best I got for you right now. Give me your answer. Let me know what you guys think. What would you do with Germaine Burton? Type K for keep or C for cut. Christian Wolf. Field Yates has us taking Gray Zabel at 17. Your thoughts? We have a video up on the channel talking about all that, breaking it down, but I'll give you kind of the spark notes of it here at this point. I don't hate the decision to go guard at that spot. You just better hope that you're getting the right guy, right? Because I don't remember if Tyler Booker was off the board or not, But if you're taking an interior offensive lineman, you got to make sure that he is your guy, and you got to make sure Scott Peters likes him. You got to make sure Scott Peters is going to be able to develop him as well. So I don't hate the pick, right? Taking guard at 17, I do not have an issue with that. Zabel has skyrocketed up people's draft boards over the past couple of weeks. When we were down at the Combine, people were raving about him as well. I think he's going to be a good football player. Is he good enough to go at 17? I'm not sure. But positionally, I don't have any issues with taking an interior offensive lineman at number 17. If you are enjoying this mailbag, you are in luck. We are going to be here with more of them all off season long. Don't miss out on any of our mailbags. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/BengalsTV. Next up here from Cobra Kai Zone. Why are the Bengals using their 30-day visits on RB? I am very high on Chase Brown and don't see the need, especially with all of our holes. It's fair. Look, they got 30 of them. And, they're going to use them with the guys that they're thinking about potentially drafting. Chase Brown's your running back one, but as we've talked about here on the show, the question is, do you draft another one or not? People have brought up the question, hey, what if something happens to Chase Brown? What do you do? Yeah, Samaje Perine, he can't be your running back one. You might cut Zach Moss, so you've got issues there at that spot if something does happen to him. Be very clear, you're not looking for an RB1. You've got your RB1, but you've got to, those running backs, man, they take massive shots. And you got to have a good backup plan if something does happen to him. I feel really good about Kendall Milton, who's your UDFA from Georgia last year. And, I think he could perhaps develop into something as well. But it is interesting to see if Cincinnati will opt to draft one. I think if you had more than 6 picks, you definitely do. And this class is so loaded, but definitely don't want to take one early whatsoever in this draft.